Usually when we talk about something like military restructuring, it's the driest topic imaginable. It's all org charts and committee meetings.
Right.
But the headline in our source stack today it completely flips that on its head. It reads, China's top general is under investigation for alleged nuclear leak to the U.S.
It's the kind of headline that just stops you in your tracks. I mean, it sounds like the plot of a spy novel.
Totally.
Yeah.
You've got nuclear secrets, a superpower rivalry, a mole at the very top.
All the ingredients.
Exactly. But as we started digging into the report, and this includes analysis from former CIA experts, the Asia Society Policy Institute, what really struck me is that the spy story, it might actually be the least important part of this whole thing.
That is the perfect way to put it. The leak is the spark, sure.
Right.
But the fire it started is burning down the entire house of the Chinese military leadership. If you just focus on the leak, you miss the tectonic shift happening right underneath.
And the sources use some really intense language. They call it an unprecedented annihilation of the high command.
And they do not use that word annihilation lightly. This isn't just about one guy getting caught with a thumb drive. It's much bigger.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out what that actually looks like. We need to talk about the man at the center of it, General Zhang, and this leak. But I really want to understand why this is all happening now. Because, China has this huge deadline coming up.
2027.
Taiwan, exactly. And firing your top generals right before a potential war seems, it seems crazy.
It feels completely counterintuitive, and that paradox is exactly what we need to try and solve today.
Okay, so let's start with the target, General Zhang. The report details the investigation, and his background, it reads like someone who should be absolutely untouchable.
He is, or I guess was, untouchable. And to get the gravity of his removal, you have to look at two things: his combat record and his bloodline.
Let's do the combat record first. The source says he's a veteran of the 1979 Sino-Vietnamese War. Why does a war from that long ago still matter today?
It matters a great deal because the People's Liberation Army, the PLA, it suffers from what analysts call the peace disease.
The peace disease?
Yeah. They haven't fought a real war since 1979. So they have all this incredible technology, hypersonic missiles, huge ships, but almost no one in command has ever actually been shot at.
So they've got the hardware, but not the muscle memory.
It's exactly. They're unproven.
Yeah.
General Zhang was one of the last links to actual combat. He was a library of institutional memory. When you fire him, you're not just firing a bureaucrat.
You're deleting the hard drive.
You're deleting one of the only hard drives you have on how to actually fight a war.
Which just makes his removal even more baffling if the goal is to be combat ready.
Yeah.
But then there's the other part of his profile, the political royalty thing. The report says his father fought alongside Xi Jinping's father.
During the Chinese Civil War. This is the princeling dynamic. In the Chinese Communist Party, that kind of history is everything. If your fathers bled together in the revolution, that creates a bond, a social contract that's supposed to be unbreakable.
It's protection. It means you're one of us.
Precisely. So by targeting Zhang, Xi is essentially tearing up that contract. If a war hero with family ties to the emperor himself can be dragged away,
then the message is clear.
No one is safe. Your history won't save you. Your medals won't save you. Nothing will.
Okay, so let's talk about the leak itself. Alleged nuclear leak to the U.S. The source is a bit vague. Is that just a scary phrase to justify this purge, or are we talking about something that actually changes the strategic balance of power?
We have to speculate a bit, obviously, but think about what a nuclear leak at this level would mean. It's not the blueprints for a bomb. China's had that for decades. We're most likely talking about the rocket force.
The branch that controls all the missiles.
Yes. And a leak there wouldn't be theoretical. It would be operational details. Things like the exact coordinates of their mobile missile silos, the burn rates of their fuel, the chain of command for a launch.
Okay, that's much more serious than just secrets.
It's catastrophic. China's entire nuclear strategy is built on what they call assured retaliation. The idea that if the U.S. hits them, they can survive and fire back. But if the U.S. knows exactly where every silo is...
that assurance just evaporates. Your whole deterrence is gone.
It's gone. So if Zhang was involved in leaking that, or even just negligent while it happened on his watch, that justifies the annihilation language. It's treason of the highest order.
But here's the question that comes from that. Was the leak the reason for the purge? Or was it just the convenient excuse to do something she wanted to do anyway?
Now you're asking the right question. And to answer that, we have to look at the scale of what's happening, because this isn't just about one guy.
Right. The report gives us some really staggering numbers about the Central Military Commission, the CMC.
The CMC is the top of the food chain. It's like the Pentagon and the Joint Chiefs all rolled into one.
So the source says that in 2022, 7 members were appointed to this body. 7 people with the keys to the entire Chinese military. And today,
Only 2 remain.
2 out of 7.
Yes. Just 2. Xi Jinping himself and Zhang Shengmin. And you have to appreciate the irony there.
Why is that?
Zhang Shengmin is the head of the anti-corruption agency. He's the guy swinging the axe.
So you're left with the emperor and the executioner. That's it. Everyone else is gone. Who are we talking about here? Who are the missing 5?
We're talking about the heavy hitters. The defense minister, Li Shangfu, who just vanished months ago. The top commanders of the rocket force, again, the guys with the nuclear codes. Imagine if, in the U.S., the Secretary of Defense, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the head of Stratcom all just disappeared in 6 months.
People would assume it's a total collapse of the government.
Absolutely. And Christopher K. Johnson, the former CIA analyst in the report, he doesn't pull his punches on this. He calls it the complete dismantling of the high command. He says the CMC is now at its smallest size in history.
And Lyle Morris from the Asia Society calls it the most extensive purge since 1949. That's a huge claim. That covers the Cultural Revolution, the death of Mao, everything.
It really paints this picture of a military in absolute disarray. And that brings us right back to your question, why? Why gut your leadership right now? Because from the outside, this looks like chaos. It looks like a leader who has lost his grip.
It does. I mean, if you have this massive project deadline, the 2027 Taiwan benchmark, you don't fire your entire project management team 2 years out. It's like shooting yourself in the foot before you run a marathon.
Unless you think the project management team is the reason you're going to fail the marathon.
Go on.
The report uses the word frustration over and over. Xi is frustrated with the modernization efforts. He wants a combat-ready force by 2027. And the analysts are suggesting that Xi looked at his generals, these guys with the peace disease, guys maybe skimming money off contracts, or just guys who were too slow, and he realized they were the obstacles.
So he's not firing them despite the war deadline. He's firing them because of it.
That's the calculation. He's betting that the short-term chaos of this purge is less dangerous than the long-term risk of going to war with generals who are incompetent or disloyal. He's clearing out the rot before he builds the new house.
But there's a massive risk there, isn't there? You said disarray. A military in disarray is vulnerable. If a crisis breaks out tomorrow, who's even there to answer the phone?
That is the gamble. And for the next year or so, the PLA is probably weaker than it's been in decades because that chain of command is just shattered. But the goal, the end game, is that the new leadership will be younger, more loyal, more tech-focused, and, absolutely terrified of Xi Jinping.
So fear is a management tool.
It's extremely effective for ensuring obedience. If you see a living legend like General Zhang get taken down, you are not going to question orders. You are not going to skim off the budget. You are going to do exactly what you are told when you are told to do it.
Okay, but I want to push back on this idea of strength. The report quotes analysts saying this whole thing demonstrates Xi's consolidated control rather than weakness. But doesn't this level of paranoia usually signal weakness? I mean, if you have to fire everyone, doesn't that mean you're afraid they're plotting against you?
That's the standard Western way to look at it, for sure. We see a purge, and we immediately think of, like, Stalin in his final days, seeing ghosts around every corner. But the source makes this really sharp distinction. It compares what's happening now to the Night of the Long Knives.
The Nazi purge.
Yeah.
Which was sudden, violent. One night of bloodshed to secure power.
Exactly. It was a desperate, reactive move to stop an immediate threat. But what Johnson points out is that this is different. He calls it a 2-year process. It's methodical. It's a slow-motion, engineered demolition.
So it's not a panic attack. It's a planned demolition.
Right. You don't spend 2 years systematically taking people out if you're afraid of a coup tomorrow. You do that when you are so secure in your power that you know no one can stop you. You can leave those top military seats empty for a month, and the army doesn't revolt. I mean, that shows an incredible amount of control.
He's comfortable with the vacuum because he is the vacuum. He fills all the space.
That's a good way to put it. He's centralizing every single decision. The risk, of course, is that when you surround yourself only with yes men who are too afraid to bring you bad news,
You end up making some terrible strategic decisions.
Like invading a neighbor because everyone told you it would be easy.
We have seen that movie before, haven't we?
We had.
So, okay, we've got a military that's basically leaderless at the top, except for Xi and his enforcer. We have a nuclear force that might have been compromised.
Yeah.
And this clock is ticking down to 2027. What does this purge actually mean for an invasion of Taiwan? Does it make it more or less likely?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, on one hand, logic says a military in disarray is less likely to launch a major operation. It takes time to train new generals, to build new command structures. So in the very short term, maybe the risk goes down. But the intent behind the purge is clearly to build a war machine that actually works. Xi isn't doing this to have a better parade. He's doing it because he looked at the old guard and thought they couldn't win a real fight. So if he succeeds, if he fills those empty chairs with capable, aggressive loyalists, the PLA that emerges in 2027 might be far more dangerous than the one we had in 2022.
It's a terrifying thought. Tearing down the whole structure just to build a stronger fortress on the rubble.
And we can't forget the nuclear angle. If they truly believe their deterrent was compromised, they might feel pressured to accelerate their timeline, or to get much more aggressive with their nuclear posture to compensate for that weakness. Insecurity can be just as dangerous as overconfidence.
I just keep coming back to that image of the empty chairs. 5 out of 7, gone. It just shows how opaque this system is. We only know about any of this because of intelligence leaks.
And that's why these deep dives are so important. We see a headline about a general, and it's gone from the news in 24 hours. But the structural reality, the dismantling of an entire command structure, that's a story that's going to affect all of us for the next decade.
It really changes how you look at that peace disease idea. It seems like the cure, at least in Xi's mind, is a violent, brutal purge.
It's a harsh medicine for sure, but he seems absolutely determined to administer it.
So to just quickly recap what we've pieced together today, we started with what looked like a simple spy story, General Zhang, and a nuclear leak. But that was just the tip of the iceberg.
The real story is this unprecedented dismantling of the Central Military Commission, the removal of combat veterans, the princelings, all the institutional memory.
And the driving force isn't just a leak, it's the 2027 deadline. It's this desperate push to turn a bloated, maybe corrupt military into a combat-ready force before time runs out.
Even if it means throwing the whole organization into complete chaos for a couple of years to get it done.
And what's so counterintuitive is that, despite the chaos, the experts we're reading argue this actually proves Xi is stronger, not weaker. He's the only one left standing in the room.
He's betting everything that he can rebuild it all in his own image, just in time.
So here's a final thought I want to leave you with. We've been assuming this nuclear leak was a disaster for China, a huge intelligence failure. But in the world of high-stakes politics, events aren't always what they seem.
What are you getting at?
Well, the purge was clearly something Xi wanted, something he felt was necessary for his modernization plan. But firing a princeling war hero, that's politically risky. It upsets a lot of powerful families. But an investigation into a nuclear leak to the Americans.
That silences everyone.
Exactly. No one can defend a traitor. So the question is, did the leak cause the purge? Or did the need for a purge make finding a leak a convenient or maybe even manufactured necessity?
That is a very dark thought. But in a system where control is absolute, you can never rule out the possibility that the crime was tailored to fit the punishment.
Just something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll see you on the next one.